Let's learn about a new concept called manding. Now, manding is an ability to mand, that is, an ability to make requests or demands. Now, this ability is essential for our survival. Even for a newborn, unless the newborn cries, his parents will not know whether to feed the newborn or to change the diaper. So, cry essentially is a mand or a request for the newborn. As a child grows, his requirements change and the manding skills have to keep up with them. Unfortunately, for children with autism, they have deficits in this area. Their communication skills may not be advanced enough to let them communicate with the environment. This may lead to a lot of problem behaviors. Like if a child is hungry or if the child wants to go out, unless the child can mand and tell its parents what he or she wants, it will lead to frustration in the child and it may come out as problem behaviors like crying or temper tantrums, etc. Also, once we teach manding skills to the child, it may open the floodgates of further communication. One important thing to understand about manding is a mand should always be preceded by a motivation. Now, let me explain. A child with autism may have numerous words in his vocabulary, but he may be using these words inappropriately. For example, let's assume there is a child who is 6-year-old, has autism, and he has a vocabulary of 10 words like cookie or ball or trampoline, etc. But unless when the child is hungry and then the child requests for a cookie, it is not a true mand. That is, unless the motivation is there to ask for something, that is not a true mand. A child may inappropriately use the word cookie throughout the day, but we will accept this as a true mand only when he uses that word to actually desire for a cookie. There are many important things we have to keep in mind when we get down to teach the child manding. Number one, do not rush into training. The child has to be a willing and motivated learner. How do you get about doing that? First, you have to get hold of many of the child's favorite reinforcers. To refresh your memory about reinforcers, you can go and watch the video about reinforcers. So now you have got hold of 4 to 5 of child's favorite reinforcers, things which really motivate the child. Second, you have to pair the workstation. For example, you want the child to sit on this chair and table and learn manding. So you have to pair the workstation with his favorite reinforcers. Once this is done, that is, you have the favorite reinforcers of the child and you have paired the workstation with the reinforcers, it is expected that the child will be happy to be in the workstation and learn manding with you. The second important thing is keep the demands on the child easy. Do not go very hard. Do not rush the child. If the child realizes that learning manding is beyond his ability, he will lose interest and he will be frustrated. So first teach the child things which are easy. So there are 3 important things we want to teach the child. The first and the most easy thing to teach is manding or requesting for items which are in sight, things which the child can see around him. Once a child has mastered manding for 12 or more things in sight, Then you move on to teaching the child how to mand for things which are out of sight. Just give an example. If the child's one of the favorite reinforcer is ice cream, and the child has learned to mand a request for ice cream when the cup of ice cream is near him. Once he has learned this, only then you can go on to teach him to mand for ice cream which is in the freezer. So once the child has learned to mand for things inside and then learn to mand for things out of sight, the final and the most complex skill is to mand for information. Information like where are my shoes, where is my bag, where are we going, when will you feed me, things like that. So it is a hierarchy which has to be followed. Another mistakes which parents or therapists may make is teaching abstract words to the child right at the beginning of the therapy. Abstract words like may I, please, more. For example, a parent may unknowingly teach the child to mand for more ice cream. So these words like more and please and may I, they are abstract concepts which a child with language impairment may struggle to make sense of. In the initial days of therapy, what do we want? We want the child to mand with one word what he wants. For example, if he wants ice cream, he should just say ice cream. If he wants cookie, he should just say cookie, and so on and so forth. Another important mistake to avoid is that do not teach the child complete sentences. Like in the initial days of therapy, child should not be taught or be expected to repeat, please may I have ice cream, or please let me go out, or please can I jump on the trampoline. No. An improvement in child's language is gauged not by the length of the sentences, but rather how many different types of requests or mands can the child produce. So once the child has learned to master mands for 10, 12, 15 items, then you may introduce one more word to further specify his needs. For example, if the child has learned to mand for cookie, then you may teach him another word to further specify what type of cookie, chocolate cookie or vanilla cookie. Similarly, if the child has learned to mand for ice cream, you can add one more word to specify what type of ice cream. Be very patient and add these single words gradually. Do not rush into this. Once you get down to teaching manding to the child, make sure that you do not teach him only one mand at a time. That may lead to problems. For example, you have really focused and worked on the child and taught him to mand for ice cream. So, when the child is hungry or when the child desires to have ice cream, the child will say ice cream and you will give the ice cream immediately. But if this is the only mand the child has learned, then when the child wants to watch TV, then also the child will say ice cream. When the child wants to go to the park, then also the child will say ice cream, because his repertoire is restricted to mand for only ice cream. So this is an important point to remember. When you get down to teaching manding, teach at least 4 to 5 mands at a time. Now, which mands to teach first? This is an important thing. Start with teaching those mands which are going to be useful to the child in his day-to-day functioning. Like what is the entire activity of the child? The child stays at home, child goes to school, child goes to park, and child comes back home. So he should be using mands which are useful in all these places. So it's very important to choose the correct mand. Second thing, do not choose only one class or classification of mand. For example, you have made a list of child's favorite reinforcers that include chips, cold drink, swing, trampoline, juice. Now, if you start teaching the child only chips, cold drink, juice, chocolates, etc., that means you are restricting yourself to only teaching about the classification of food. So, if you do that, then you will be able to teach the child Manding only during meal times or snacks time, or only when the child is hungry. The rest of the day, you will not be able to teach Manding. What do we want for our child? We want to give him maximum opportunities throughout the day to learn Manding. That is why choose different classes of mands. Like choose two from food, two from activities, two from something else. Activities would be anything. Like choose those mands which are child's favorite reinforcers. Like watching Coco Melon, for example, or going to the park, or swinging. So keep some food items, keep some activity items, keep some movie items, etc. One more important point to keep in mind is, as I said earlier, our aim is to give the child maximum opportunities throughout the day to learn Manding. So whatever food items or activities which you are going to use for Manding, break them down into smaller portions. Let me give an example. So for example, one of the child's favorite reinforcer is a cookie. So you want to teach Manding for cookie. So when the child is hungry, you give the child says cookie and you give the child cookie. So after 2 or 3 cookies, the child's tummy is full and he is no longer interested in Manding for cookie. So what should you do? You should break each cookie into, let's say, 5 parts. So if you break 2 cookies, you will have 10 pieces of cookie. So the child now has 10 opportunities to mand for cookie. Similarly, if you are teaching the child to mand for watching a YouTube program, for example, Cocomelon, then once the child says Cocomelon, as a reinforcement, yes, do give him Cocomelon to watch, but don't let the child watch for 10 minutes. Stop it after 2 minutes so that the child is kept wanting for more, so that he'll be motivated to ask for more Cocomelon. This is how, by breaking down food items or activities into small controllable portions, you can drag out the manding sessions. Now next we are going to learn how to carry out a manding session.